Ah,
All right,
can we start now?
let's go.
Okay. Hello. We're from Group 7, Plant and Tissue Culture. We're going to discuss about practical lab 3. My name is NURSYAHIDA AZURIN BINTI MOHAMAD SALEH. My matrix number is 207937.
My name is NURSYAHIDA binti Muhammad SABRI. My matric number is 206674.
My name is NURSYAHIDA binti Muhammad RAFI. My matric number is 202647.
My name is SHIRATUL binti ROZAINI and my matric number is 206175.
My name is NURSYAHIDA DURRANI binti Muhammad NAZARI. My matric number is 7181.
All right. So we're going to go through the discussion questions. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna start for the first question. But first, as we can see from the table, there are two sterilizing agents, which 10% Clorox and 0.5% of magnesium chloride. But as mentioned as practical 2, we need to assign only one of the sterilizing agent. Based on our lab group, it's actually, we are in group 7, but I'm going to discuss both of the sterilizing agent so that it will be to compare. So, but first I'm going to start with 0.5% of magnesium chloride. So there are 2 minutes assigned, which is 1 minute, and the 5 minutes. And we discussed to put 5 number of explant prepared. And then for the number of contaminated explant, number of viable explant, and number of dead explant, 40% and 60% respectively. And for the contaminated plate, we discussed it's no for the contaminated plate. And for the Clorox, the exposure time assessed is 5 minutes and 15 minutes. And we discussed that to put 5 number of explant 2, same goes to the magnesium chloride. Number of contaminated explant for 5 minutes is 40%, and number of viable explant is 60%, and number of dead explant is 40%, and the contaminated plate is yes. And for the 15th minute, the number of contaminated explant is 60%, the number of viable explant is 40%, and number of dead explant is 60%, and the contaminated plate is no. So maybe you guys would ask why there's different answer for the contaminated plate. So why we answer yes for the Clorox on the 5th minute is because, as we can see at the number of contaminated explant, we receive the result of 40%, and another 60% would be considered as contaminated plate, as 40% is actually derived from the explant. So the number of contaminated plate, percentage of number of contaminated plate is actually higher than the contaminated explant. So we put it as yes. And it's vice versa for no, where the contaminated explant for the 15 minutes, we get 60%. So another 40% is actually derived from the contaminated plate. So we put it as no. And same goes for the magnesium chloride, 0.5% of magnesium chloride. We put both of the contaminated plate, answer is no, because the number of contaminated explant is actually 60% for both 1 minute and 5 minutes. So another 40% remaining is actually for the contaminated plate. So we put it as both as no. So for the question 1, based on the observation, explain the result obtained. I already explained it a bit, and suggest a modification to improve the protocol. So as we can see here that we could get the surface sterilization of leaf expands from the 10% chloride is actually achieved. It's actually achieved by the fifth minute, which is only the number of contaminated expands on only 40%. So we already achieved it, but not for the 15 minutes. For the magnesium chloride, we didn't achieve both of the expected results. So what the modification that we can do to improve the protocol is actually maybe instead of 0.5% of magnesium chloride, we can actually reduce it a bit to maybe 0.1, because as time increasing, there is no change in the contaminated plate. No, for the first minute is no, and for the 5 minutes is no too. So maybe we could manipulate the concentration. I refer to the articles and journal on the internet. Maybe the ideal concentration to actually achieve this result is by reduce it to 0.1% of magnesium chloride. And maybe because of that, the expected result could be achieved by reducing the concentration. So that is for the question number 1. And I'm going to continue for the question number 2 too. Oh, if you have any question, maybe you can ask at the end of the explanation until I reach the third question.
Okay.
So for the...
It is mercury chloride, not magnesium chloride. It is
Sorry?
mercury chloride, not magnesium chloride.
What chloride? I can't.
Mercury chloride.
Oh, mercury chloride. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Sorry, my mistake. So for second question, based on the result, draw a suitable conclusion. So actually for this experiment, there are not two things, what the exact terms are. There are maybe two things that we could give more attention to is actually the concentration and the exposure time. So we already discussed about the exposure time. So maybe sorry, my mistake again. For this experiment, we could conclude that actually the time and the concentration would play the most important role in this experiment. The effectiveness of sterilization varies depending on the exposed time given this plant and also the concentration. So that is for the question 2. And for the question 3, apart from exposure time, explain other factors that may affect the efficacy of the sterilizing agent used in the practical. Okay, this is actually, I already mentioned it too. Another factors, that's the term that I want to find for. The other factors, apart from the minutes, apart from the time, is actually the concentration. There's other factors more like the presence of organic matter and the type of leaf surface, but I'm going to focus on the concentration. That is for the question 3. If you have any question, maybe you can ask. Or if you don't have any question, then maybe we can move to question 4 and so on.
I think no. But to be added,
I have no question.
okay. But to be added, actually, another information that I get for Clorox, actually, we put contaminated plate for 5 minute exposure time. Yes, because from my reading, I found that prolonged exposure to surfactant, because Clorox, prolonged exposure to high prolonged exposure to the Clorox, it can be phytotoxic to the tissue. So because of that, we choose the shorter time exposure. And then because of that, contaminated plate will be yes at the exposure time 5 minutes. Okay, so Shahida, this one. If you want to edit.
No.
If you guys don't have any questions, so I will proceed to number 4. So for the number 4, the question asks if surfactant is not used. Surfactant here we use is clean 20. So if clean 20 is not used, so what is the outcome of the practical based on the percentage of cleanable? So from my answer, I would give I will tell the treatment is not effective because surfactant actually act as a wetting agent and it will repel the air. As we know that microorganisms also can live in the presence of air. So if and another thing that I want to add, actually surfactant is an non-ionic surfactant. So that's mean it's kind of a lipid, hydrophobic particles. So that is why if we does not use surfactants in this experiment, maybe it will lead to the growth of microorganism, and thus the treatment is not effective because the tissue surface is still contaminated with the growth of microorganism. Okay, so for number 5, if the step that treated the explant with 70% of alcohol was ignored, could the outcome of the practical be changed significantly? So I would say yes, because for your information, alcohol that we use in this experiment actually act as the substance to destroy the vegetative form on the vegetative form of microbe and on the surface of tissue, plant tissue. So if we didn't use the alcohol, it will the contamination still there, and the surface of the plant still not sterile properly. So that's why I give that explanation. Okay, any question? No. All right, so maybe can proceed with number 6.
Okay. So for the number 6, the question is suggest a suitable sterilizing agent to replace Clorox used in this practical. Modify the protocol to suit the new sterilizing agent. Okay, if we use Clorox, we can replace it with 9 to 10% calcium hypochlorite. And calcium hypochlorite is usually available in powder form, so we need to dissolve it first and then filter the solution before using it for sterilization. Then after we dip the leaf with 70% alcohol, 70% ethanol, we will immerse one leaf with 9 to 10% calcium hypochlorite for 5 minutes, and the other one leaf we immerse we immerse it in calcium hypochlorite with the exposure time of 50 minutes. So if we use mercury chloride, we can replace it with silver nitrate. So the protocol is still the same. After we dip the leaf with 70% ethanol, we will immerse one leaf in 1% silver nitrate for 5 minutes, and the other leaf with 1% silver nitrate with 30 minutes. So next question, number 7, name the type of sterilizing agent used in this practical. So we use halogen and heavy metals. Number 8, name the active ingredient of Clorox and its concentration at 10% solution of Clorox. So the active ingredient for Clorox is sodium hypochlorite with 5.25%, and mercury chloride, the concentration is 0.1 to 1%. That's all from me.
For question number 9, so explain the procedure to prepare 10% of Clorox solution. So mention whether you need to autoclave the solution or not. So for this question, I used to the Clorox and the HgCl2. Okay, for the Clorox, first thing is we need to add 9 parts of water to 1 part of laboratory bleach. And then bleach solution is very corrosive to stainless steel. So it is required to apply a plastic container to mix and store the bleach solution for hours only. So for the Clorox solution, do not autoclave it because it will degrade the HOCl, or we call hypochlorous acid. Next is for mercury chloride, 0.5% of mercury chloride. Actually, I am not sure about the procedure of the 0.5. I'm only found about a 0.1% mercury chloride. So I'm not sure about the 0.5. What I'm found is mercury chloride is we must autoclave the mercury chloride for the contamination-free culture. And we need to treat it, the explant with the HgCl2 solution about 4 to 5 minutes, followed by 3 distilled water rinse. Do you have any question? No? No. I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the 0.5%. I'm not found. Okay, for question number 10, justify the need to rinse and expose the explant with sterile water for a certain period of time after Clorox and mercury chloride treatment. For Clorox solution, we need to rinse and expose the explant with sterile water because we need to remove the traces of NaOCl. For mercury chloride, after we expose the explant to mercury chloride, we need to rinse them many times using sterile water to remove all traces of minerals from the explants. Okay, next, if rinsing with sterile water was performed quickly without leaving the explant in water for a while, what will be the consequence? Predict based on the percentage obtained above. So my answer is, if sterile water was performed quickly, so the percentage of explant will high. It is because the reintroduction of contamination will occur. That's all from me. Do you have any question?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so for question number 12, 13, and 14, I will be discuss about it. Okay, so number 12, if the source of explant was not heavily contaminated, which part of the sterilizing protocol could be modified to make it more effective? Explain. So because it said that the source of explant was not heavily contaminated, so there is a step in the practical lab manual that surface sterilization step with ethanol. So I think instead of dip the leaf in 17% ethanol for 30 seconds, I guess we can dip the leaf for like 15 seconds or lesser, because it say that it is not easily not 13. If the source of explant was sterile, which part of the protocol could be modified? Explain. So I think for sterile plants, actually, explant can be prepared directly without sterilization. So there is no sterilization there. So we may need to pay attention to the culture medium. We have to make stock solution of minerals, vitamins, and plant growth regulator according to specific types of media. So for number 14, suggest a method to grow a plant under sterile condition for explant preparation. So I think we can use micropropagation because the technique of maintaining and growing plant cell, tissues, and other plant part under sterile condition in a neutral medium is called a tissue culture. So this technique or tissue culture is used for propagation purpose. That's all from me. Is there any questions?
Just now for number 11, I think in my opinion, if we for number 12, in my opinion, if we didn't if the explant is not heavily contaminated, so maybe we can just ignore the step for surface cleaning step and surface sterilization with ethanol, because the cleaning step is just to remove the non
Organic materials.
organic material, and also ethanol just to kill the microbe. So because of that, I think maybe we can proceed to rinsing step. We can start to with rinsing step. Step number 8. Okay. And
I see.
also number 13, if the source of explant was sterile, protocol that we can modify is number 1, step 1 until step 9, because all of that step is for the sterilization of explant. And step number 10, we start the preparation of explant. So that's why I think we can just ignore the first three method and then just go to the preparation of explant method. That is for number 13.
Oh,
Alright. Okay, that's all for me.
thank you for the answer. I think that's all from me. Anyone want to add something?
Can I ask what the answer for number 7 again?
Oh, heavy metal and halogen.
Where do we get that answer? Actually, I'm quite lost.
Because Clorox is sodium hypochlorite, right? So it is halogen. And mercury chloride is heavy metal. We use heavy metal. Is that clear?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or anyone want to add something?
No.
No.
Right, then that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Stop the recording.